I don't know why they decided to put a black Pentecostal preacher last, but if you love Israel, make some noise in here, everybody. Come on. I'm sorry, that wasn't enough for me. If you love Israel, make some noise in here. Now, I've said it many times, I understand the words never again, now more than ever. And the past 2 weeks have been mind-blowing, of course, and heart-wrenching. And this horrific, heinous attack on Israel and the Jewish people will forever be remembered and never forgotten. I was supposed to be in Israel when the war broke out, but my father had a stroke. The other day he had a second stroke. Last night, and he's in Northwestern Hospital, last night my daughter had symptoms of a stroke, and she's currently in the hospital. But I had to be here today because when your friends are going through, when your friends need you, you ought to show up. And I wanted to tell all of you all, know this, especially as long as I'm alive and as long as I'm leading two of the greatest churches, Brightstar and St. James, you will never be alone. You will never be alone. You will never, ever be alone. We are better together. Dr. King said it best. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Standing up, speaking up, showing up is the absolute right thing to do, especially for people that you call friends. Sadly, many people spew hateful words under the banner of free speech. But in my humble opinion, it should not be considered free when it costs the rest of us our peace, our sanity, and our tranquility. It affects our quality of life, and it gives fear free reign in our society. And this is no way to live. And it affects all of us, every one of us. But I do take this time to raise a concern that somewhat frustrates me. After more than a decade of working to build bridges between the African American and Jewish communities in Chicago and around this country, why is it we only come together during Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday? Why is it we only come together when tragedies happen or when there's a threat of racism or anti-Semitism? It is abundantly clear to me that episodic efforts of building bridges between black people and Jewish people, they don't work. They aren't sustainable. And feel-good moments are not enough. We must do more. Now, I need y'all to act like you are in a black church on the south side of Chicago. That's right. I need you to talk to me and shout these words: we must do more. We must do more. No, y'all still on the north side with that. I need you to say it like you're at Brightstar St. James. Shout, we must do more. We must do more. And if you say the next words and you believe it, I need you to go crazy with a real loud shout. Shout, we are better together. We're better. Make some noise if you believe that. Come on. We're better together. Now, let me just say this. Alderman, good to see you. Thank you for your courage. Let me just say this. My brother from another mother, Steve Sarowitz, who some would say is taller than me. But Steve, I can still beat you in basketball. He taught me a powerful principle from Abdul Baha. It says, where there is love, nothing is too much trouble. and there is always time. You have to take time to do the work, to have friends before you need friends. And today, I don't know if you all can use a few more friends with a real good tan, but as you can see, I bought some other African American Christian friends that really, would y'all stand? Y'all make some noise for them. They came here to say, you are not alone. You are not alone. So let me also say something that you may not fully understand and some of you all may not like. When black people were saying Black Lives Matter, we were not talking about an organization.
Right.
99.99% of African Americans who don't even know about the organization, they're talking about a mindset. They're talking about a movement, not an organization. No one organization speaks for an entire race or group of people. And if you have close black friends that you can speak talkless with, if you have some black friends, you can ask them. Tell me about this. And talk real and nobody gets offended. And when George Floyd was murdered, many of you showed up for black people. And now we are showing up for you. We are speaking up for you. We are standing up for you. Come on, shout better together.
Better together.
I said shout better together.
Better together.
Just like during the civil rights movement. We should be together.
Right.
Now, when there are atrocities in the United States, we often say thoughts and prayers are not enough. And at that same time now, that truth applies right now. Remember September 11th and how after experiencing such a non-provoked attack, our entire country rallied and unified against terrorism. Make no mistake about it. This war that has been declared is not against Palestinian people. It is against a rightful enemy, Hamas. A terrorist organization that has now caused many innocent Palestinians to suffer in Gaza beyond what has been experienced or ever imagined. And innocent Palestinians should not be dying or suffering. And yes, we are heartbroken watching innocent Palestinian children and families die and suffer. During my 7 trips to Israel, and yes, I did say 7, that means I'm more Jewish than many of you all in this room. Pretty soon, Steve, I'm thinking about making Aliyah. All my trips over there, I've had the privilege to get a glimpse of Israel geographically, archaeologically, economically, agriculturally, militarily, spiritually. And I learned that this very special place is holy for Israelis and Palestinians alike. Christians, Jews, Muslims alike, Druze, Baha'is, and so many others. And many would like the world to believe this conflict is between these two groups of people who are both victims to the inhumane behaviors of Hamas, a terrorist group. But as Christians, it is very well possible to grieve for both. And it is essential that we pray for both. We are responsible to speak out against any injustices, any atrocities, any violence perpetrated on all of humanity. Unimaginable numbers of Israelis and Palestinians are now victims, and so many others, due to this unprovoked and clearly previously planned attack. We don't have to agree with the policies of Israeli government to stand against terrorism. We don't have to fully understand the Palestinian plight to stand against terrorism. We don't even have to feel compelled to choose a side, due to social media pressures and propaganda that lacks historical or biblical context. But we all must speak out against terrorism, period. We all must speak out against terrorism, period. We all must speak out, stand up, show up, speak up against terrorism, period. We must. We must. I'm ending now, but I tell you this. My faith demands it. My Bible requires it.
Yes.
My heart expects it. And I believe standing against all terrorism is a moral and spiritual responsibility. I often say our communities are better together, and for me, those words cannot just be words. They cannot be void of action. One of my favorite scriptures in the Bible, it says, Proverbs 17:17, a friend loveth at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. And I believe there's nothing more profound than what I call the ministry of presence, showing up. Yeah. To me, that is what unconditional love and authentic relationship requires. Here's what Dr. King said: returning hate for hate multiplies hate, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And I work with many Jewish synagogues, organizations, and hallels in our city and beyond. I've been to Israel 7 times, co-led more than 75 faith leaders to the Holy Land. Brightstar Community Outreach, our 501c3, has successfully partnered with Natal and Tel Aviv to provide trauma counseling to 50,000 Chicagoans with the Israeli model. Heck, I'm not only a black Christian from the hood that sings Hatikva. No. I say to the CEO of Alpha Epsilon Pi, what he didn't know is this black dude is an honorary member of Alpha Epsilon Pi. A few years ago, I received the Congressman Elliot Engel Award because I go on college campuses teaching young black people and young Jewish people how to build bridges with one another on college campuses, how to fight BDS. How to combat anti-Semitism and how to combat racism. And they ask me, how do you get them to do it? It's real simple. I say to our Jewish students on campus, you invite the black people to your Shabbat dinner, and the black people will invite you to our Shabbat barbecue. It's just that simple. I got to go to my seat and I got to get back to the south side. But Booker T. Washington and Julius Rosenwald, Dr. King, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel did it then. Here's the question: who will do it now? Not just words, but the work. They did the work. And we cannot continue to take credit for the work that they did. It's our turn now. Our episodic events and feel-good efforts pale in comparison to what our communities did together decades ago. And we should be asking ourselves, what more can we do? Psalm 122, verse 6 through 8 declares, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. They shall prosper that love thee. Peace be within thy walls and prosperity within thy palaces. For my brethren, verse 8 says, my brethren and companions' sake, I will say now, peace be within thee. We pray for all the victims, all the families. We maintain hope that those taken hostage will return home to their families safely. Every one of them. We pray for the leadership of our governments around the world who carry the unimaginable weight of establishing sustained peace in that region and around the globe. I say this proudly. 2 things. Number 1, You are not alone. Number 2, Yisrael Kai. God bless you all.
Hey, if you enjoyed this video, please click here for the full video and please click here for the playlist. Take care.